So we will go ahead. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Before I ask for approval of the agenda, I will remind everyone that at our last meeting, I brought up the subject of whether or not we should allow the department to approve some of the small requests for people that are, that just have a few dollars left. And so at the end, under task force updates, I'm going to bring that subject up again and then ask us to make a decision one way or the other on that. At any rate, I call the meeting to order. Welcome those that are here participating and also those that are on YouTube listening to the presentation. With that caveat about the recommendation, I'm going to bring up this at the end. Motion to approve the agenda would be in order.
Tracy Callard, so moved.
Tracy makes the motion and Bert seconds the motion. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed, the motion carries. And so we now need, are there any additions or corrections to the February 9th agenda? Minutes. Seeing none, a motion would be in order to approve. Bert makes the motion and it is seconded by Nick. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries. And now we have a new melodious voice to bring us up to date today. So Dean will be taking charge at this point and bringing us up to date with the recommendations from the group from the department. Go right ahead, Dean.
Thank you, Chairman Porter. All right, let me get our screen up here. A moment. All right, are we seeing it?
Yes.
All right, very good. All right. Well, so today we have a total of 12 changes that are up. 3 of these are going to be using the rest of their funds. And we do also have, for the first time in a while, one that is recommended to as ineligible, and we'll get to that here in a few minutes. All right. So, bear with me a second. I got to move my window. There we go. All right. So we've got Ulysses that is, there we are. I'm not as good as Doug. You gotta bear with me. All right, we're not. We've got Ulysses that's using up the rest of their funds with a little bit of premium pay and some technology. We have Emporia that is doing some professional development, but does still have a little bit left. We also have Triplanes. There we go. Who had a little bit more educational technology. Nickerson, they're just moving stuff around for some additional PD for staff. We have Chaparral, who is using up the rest of theirs with finishing up adding a little bit more to their HVAC project from the ESSER funds. Madison Virgil's just moving stuff around to use up a little bit more with their cleaning supplies that they needed. Shawnee Heights also just that's moving some funds around for additional incentive pay. We have Hayes with some additional professional development, but no net change. Syracuse moving a little bit of money around, but for their HVAC that was approved. And then we have Kansas City that is moving funds, proposing to move funds from an approved project to a new line item for sound systems for the classrooms. And we have a longer explanation of that here in a moment, but it's for those audio systems in all their classrooms for a total of $8.45 million. But because it was deemed ineligible by our staff, it's currently red and shows up as a negative on this. So that's why it currently shows them being moving from having fully budgeted their funds to a negative. We have Labette no net change, but moving some money around for professional development. And Santana, also no net change, but moving some money around for curriculum. So the USD 500, the item that was deemed ineligible. This is similar to some proposals we saw earlier in the pandemic, where the request was to install audio systems in the classrooms. And you may recall from some of the prior requests along these lines, we have consistently found them ineligible. Not that it's maybe not a good use of money, but simply that this wholesale move to put these systems in all the classrooms isn't eligible under ESSER. We have in the past and with Kansas City noted that if there's a specific need for a particular child or children, that that can be considered separately. But the proposal that was provided and the explanation provided, we weren't able to connect the dots back to actually addressing the need that they're hoping to address here, which is to better serve English learners and students with disabilities. And so for that reason, we deemed it ineligible. Oops, sorry, I didn't go back.
Jamie?
Okay, thanks, Dean. KCK called me this morning and asked that I ask about this. So just a quick question: have we denied the sound systems for other districts, or did you say just similar projects?
We have consistently denied these.
The sound systems.
We haven't seen them for a while. The asks, but yes.
Okay. I just informed them to continue to work with you on the use of those funds, and that I wouldn't have an answer on the task force, but that I'd at least ask. And I don't think they were aware that others have made this request, and I couldn't remember either, but that have been denied. So I think that's answers my question.
Okay, thank you. And if anybody else has questions, I can only see 4 people, so if you'll need to speak up if you do, or put something in the chat. Yeah, I had the same question, Jamie.
I believe has a question, Jim.
Go ahead. Who does?
I was wondering if in the COVID period, if there were any schools that had to increase their ability to communicate with the classrooms because we were consolidating rooms with communication systems. Did that ever exist in any of the previous proposals?
Earlier in the pandemic, we did have some requests, a lot like this one, and asking to install systems in throughout the district or in multiple buildings, and they were denied for the same, or they were deemed ineligible, and for the same reason. This one is that wholesale installing those, we couldn't tie that back, but if there was a specific need, so like if there was a particular child or special circumstance in some rooms or something that required it, we could address that. But to simply install it in all of them was too difficult to connect back to this specific iterated allowable uses that are in ESSER, which of course is a little more restrictive than just anything to address the classroom.
So to make it abundantly clear, if we were to override the team and approve this, that would be inconsistent with what we've done in the past. Did that make sense?
Yes.
Kathy?
I'm just wondering, as is state, my understanding is the ESSER funds funneled through the Department of Ed. Basically, that's their last stop. Like they don't have another place to advocate to, correct? On the use of the funds?
Correct. The Kansas Department of Education, we're their grant. We're the ones that oversee the grants to them. Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to make sure I understood fully the hierarchy. Thank you.
But Kathy, I want to clarify that just a little bit. We set up this task force, though, to review that and make recommendations to the state board, and the state board would also have a say on that. That is not in law. That's something we did above the law. So in many states, it just went to the State Department and there was a distribution of funds. I might also mention that in the last week, we received kind of a letter from U.S. Department of Ed saying, maybe we need to crack down even further. That's maybe a little harsh, right, Dean? That maybe
Yeah,
our procedures
Yeah.
to the school districts need to be even more strict. I don't know that we would necessarily agree with all that, but we did get a letter saying that we need to review our procedures with school districts.
And based on that letter, I believe that our department and this committee has been extremely responsible in reviewing, and I appreciate the work that everybody's done. And so I would, of course, respectfully disagree with the Department of Education.
Might also mention in defense of KCK, they did produce a letter to us that other states, I think, may have done this. I think that at least the vendor produced a letter saying other states have done this. I don't know that to be true. Sometimes it's true in some context that we don't know about, but I do want you to know that showed. But I can tell you that we don't believe upon audit that the U.S. Department of Ed will allow this to occur. So again, it's a great use of money for helping kids in classrooms, and but we're just trying to give the best advice that we can related to the federal government guidelines.
Right, and I think in respect to that, being that safety net, because it is going to be audited, and we don't want any schools to be up against a wall, having already spent the money, and the federal government come in and say, nope, that's not okay. You're gonna have to fork the money out or something to that effect. So that's been my understanding, is it being that safety net to make sure we don't see districts get in trouble.
Yeah, this is just an extra level of support to keep that from happening. None of us want to read in the local newspaper that we did not spend money appropriately. Are there any other questions?
Yeah. I want to clarify a few things. So, Mr. Porter, you said that, were you stating that we didn't allow this in the past, or were you asking if we didn't allow this in the past, an expenditure like this?
Okay, I was expressing my understanding that we have not approved these in the past, and if we approve this one, it would be inconsistent with our past action.
Okay.
I was just trying to clarify the point, and apparently I confused it.
Okay. Nope. That's perfect. I thought you were asking and waiting for a response. And so,
No.
but that makes sense. So I just want to make sure I'm clear on that too, and agreed with everything, that was stated before too. So, I appreciate that.
Okay, any other questions? Any other recommendations, Dean?
Nope, Chairman Porter, that's all the recommendations.
We'll go ahead and finish the
All right.
presentation before we get to the vote.
Absolutely. So, I'll move my window again. All right. So, so a little bit of an explanation on what you see in front of you. This is populated based on what the KSDE staff recommended and is currently proposed before you all. So it reflects the KCK, the USD 500s, 8.5 million, approximately $8.5 million request as being ineligible. So it's not counted towards the approved in this. So that's why it looks like we've gone backwards just a little bit relative to everything else. So if you take that out of the equation, we actually are moving a little bit forward by about $900,000 in additional funds that have been approved overall across the state. ready for me to move on to the?
Yes.
all
Just
right. Oh, yes.
Go
One
ahead,
more-
Kennedy.
One more question, if I could. Did you say that that money had already been approved for KCK for something else and they were wanting to move it? Is that correct?
Correct. They had previously had all of their funds approved for, they had previously had it all budgeted for approved projects. This represented money that they were wanting to move from something that was already approved to a separate expense. So if we don't approve, if the task force and then the board doesn't approve this, then they'll look for something else to apply it to.
And they still have time to do all that, right? So they don't lose the money. They just can't spend it for that project.
Correct.
Okay, moving on. Any further questions? Can you quit sharing your screen so I can see people now?
Oh,
please,
absolutely.
Dean?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, a motion to approve the recommendations would be in order. And Jamie makes that recommendation and makes the motion, and Melissa seconds it. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. And as I indicated earlier, we talked about giving the department some freedom to approve small projects without having to go through this process. And I believe that Bert was ready to make a motion in February, and if she's still, and I understand she's still willing to do that, so I'm going to turn it over to you for a second there, Bert.
So I move that we allow KSDE with their internal auditing information to approve anything less than $5,000 without coming to this committee.
Is there a second to that motion?
I've got a question.
Yeah, Melissa seconds the motion and Jamie has a question. Go
Okay,
ahead.
sorry, I agree with your motion. I just want to make sure that from Dr. Watson's comment about the federal government being a little more sticky with new guidelines, do you feel like that's going to be within their approval or okay with that?
So Jamie, I think what they were asking for is for us to clarify expenditures, and Dean can probably speak to it more because he's looked at it more. I think this will be fine. Again, I think we've gone above and beyond the law. And as you know, some superintendents would claim we're too strict. And so, but I don't think that this would hamper that, Jamie.
And
Thank you. I'd second then if that's necessary
I think
still.
it's already been seconded, but thank you, Jamie. Yeah, we've been accused of being way too strict anyway, and it's the people in the department that are the ones that are leading that charge. So I'm completely confident that this will not open any unwanted doors. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Seeing none, that motion carries unanimously. I say we are a small group, but a powerful group. Appreciate your time, and we will see you in a.
Jim,
Randy,
could
go
I
ahead.
just say this, and mainly for Jamie? Jamie, I will reach out to KCK. I assume you will also, since they reached out to you. They can also reach out to Melanie Haas and Danny Zeck, who represent KCK. I've talked to both of them because obviously the state board will make the final decision on this on Tuesday. But I'll reach out to them also.
Okay, anything else?
Chairman Porter, we did have a couple more slides in response to something
Oh.
you asked last time. If
Go
you
ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
so-
All right. So, and this just really kind of follows up on the motion that you just made, which is, let me get back to my screen here. Sure. You asked last time for just a breakdown of where we are with these. Nope, I went too far. That's my fault. Let's do that again. And here we are. All right. So as of just as an informational item, as of March 26th, This is the breakdown of districts that still have some amount of money that they haven't yet accounted for in their plan and how much. So 19 of those are between $1 and $9,000. Only 16 between 12,000 and 100,000, 10 between the 100,000 and 415,000, and then 2 between 1 million and 8.5 million. But one of those is Kansas City, because again, this was generated based on the recommendation that we had today. That's all we
Dean,
had.
to
Yes.
clarify, so then the balance of the districts still have money to spend, but their plans are fully approved. Is that the way to interpret this?
These are the 47 districts that have they have at least some of their plan is approved, but they have some amount of money that hasn't yet been brought to the task.
That piece I understand. So
Okay.
there's 47, and
Yeah.
then we have 37 that have fully drawn down all of their ESSER 3 funds. Somewhere there's a couple hundred districts not accounted for on this slide. So what I'm asking, are those districts in a category where, yes, they still have money yet to draw down. However, the plan for how they will draw it down is fully approved. So we're not needing to be involved at this time, right?
Yeah, I apologize for that. So
No problem.
yes, so we have 37 districts that have completed their plans and completely drawn down all of their funds. So that accounts for 84 of our districts. And then the other 202 districts have 100% of their funds have been accounted for in the plan, but they still have at least some amount of money remaining to be drawn down in there. And we are monitoring that on a month-by-month basis to ensure that everybody's on a glide scope to get it drawn down before before the end of this year.
Well, and just to make mention, the agency continues to do quarterly reports on the spend down, which lag. They're a quarter behind because of the process to collect the data and analyze it. But we are very publicly reporting on all of this.
That is now the last slide that we had, Chairman Porter.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you, Dean. I seen no other business for today. We'll see you in a couple of months, and we are adjourned.